Welcome to Thieves' Cant, a tabletop gaming podcast with your hosts, Jeremy Shane and Chris White.
Welcome in and welcome back to Thieves' Cant. It is Saturday, October 11th. I'm Jeremy Shane.
And I'm Chris White.
Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing at ThievesCantcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen. If you want to email the show, you can do so at thievescantcast@gmail.com. And, Chris, I should remind folks, if they are enjoying the show, there's something that they could do, right, to help us out.
What's that?
Scratch our back. I think, if you are enjoying the show, consider leaving us a 5-star review on your platform of choice.
That would be very much appreciated.
Whether we deserve it or not.
Yeah.
They say to ask big, right?
Yeah. Just do it. Just give us the 5-star.
Yeah. It would be a tremendous help for the show. It gets more eyes on the show. You can also, share us with your loved ones. We make a great Halloween gift.
We come gift wrapped.
Hey, in today's show, we're going to look at some real-world inspiration for your game. It's a segment of Unearthed, Obscura. We'll also take a look at horror cinema classics in our crowdfunding spotlight, speaking of the Halloween season.
Oh, yeah.
And our question of the week comes from listener Emil regarding tinkering with monster stat blocks. But first, we've got some listener feedback.
First up, Biazia offers some clarity regarding our confusion about heroes having 2 active kits in drawsteel.
Yeah, should we give some context for this?
Yeah,
so
probably.
On our last show last week on Thieves' Cant, we completed our build of a drawsteel hero, a woad elf tactician. And with the tactician, you get 2 kits.
Right.
And so we were kind of unsure, which features of which kit would be active at the same time. All of them.
Right.
Does one supersede the other?
Hopefully BZ is going to get us straightened out here. They wrote, I remember the creators mentioned on a couple videos that you get the best of both worlds. These restrictions are for those that can only get 1 kit, while Field Arsenal allows you to wield a Panther kit with shining armor. It's implying that your tactician can move just as fast with the massive 2-hander, even while wearing heavy armor. That makes sense.
It does.
I didn't have that clarity, so I didn't want to assume that.
Right. So with that context in mind, yeah, that makes sense, and that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
That does make tactician a really cool choice.
Right. Some combinations that would be impossible otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks, Biazia, for the clarification.
Thank you.
We were talking rewards on that last episode of Thieves' Cant Capers, by the way, the rewards chapter, and Wes Lawrence, he says, the best rewards are the friends we make along the way.
Well, who can argue with that? Yeah, I mean, the power of friendship. If we learned anything from My Little Pony.
Yeah, and hey, and our trip through drawsteel and drawsteel capers, we picked up some friends along the way, so maybe Wes is right. Those are the best rewards.
That's true.
Let's move on to our question of the week. This week's question comes from Emil in Denmark, who emails, hello, Jeremy and Chris. Thank you for the pod, especially the cool discussions about drawsteel. Well, hey, you're welcome. Here's a question I've pondered myself. Monster tinkering, homebrewing abilities, and stat blocks. How do I know when to add extra flavor and when to hold back? Many of us like to homebrew idiosyncratic settings, grand adventures, sinister plots, ravishing characters, and intriguing monsters. But many of us are also cursed with fulfilling full-time jobs and loving families with toddlers. Well, our groups probably don't get to play that much, and each monster archetype only gets 1 adventure, 1 session, or even just 1 encounter before we move on to the next monster type. Maybe I think it's cool for the troll to have volatile and acidic blood instead of typical regenerative blood, making every hit and cut hurt the creatures around it and maybe even itself. twisting the archetype, subverting expectations. But if I've never deployed a troll against the players in any game before, is the flavoring even worth it? Should I let the mechanics of the original concept get a chance to shine first? Is there a virtue to the archetypical? This was something I often asked myself when designing encounters in 5e, but it feels even more important now that I'm playing drawsteel. And maybe I should let the game designers speak through their own mechanics first. All the best from Denmark, Emil, the Wookiee Man. You know, the timing, Chris, for this question is pretty good, because our next episode of Capers, coming up later in the week, is going to cover drawsteel monsters. And I remember specifically in that book, the designers say just to use those monsters as they're presented. Basically saying just trust the stat block. It's designed to function the way that we intended it to, and it will behave that way. They do say, though, that you can tinker with stamina freely. You can dial that knob up and down as you need to. That one's not really going to affect anything else that monster is doing. But if you start making changes in other parts, you might have some unpredictable results. So I shared that with Emil, and he actually came back and said that he actually doesn't like how the monster book gives you that option. He says it makes builds like Fire Acolyte with +1 to fire magic seem rather silly if I'm giving the monster extra stamina to survive one more turn. So that's a fair criticism.
Right.
Where do you want to jump in on this, Chris?
Well, there's not a blanket answer for this question. It's a great question, because a lot of it depends on your experience. You know, if I'm a director and I'm running my first game of drawsteel, I'm probably not going to tinker. That's the point where I'm going to trust the developers. If I've got some experience and I'm comfortable with the combat system, I think it would be cool for a troll to have acid blood. Yeah,
which
I'm giving it acid blood.
By the way, that is a pretty cool idea.
It is a great idea, and I mean, so it's the director's confidence in their understanding of the system, and also obviously the players.
What do they know about the traditional troll? Do you want to surprise them with something different?
Yeah, I mean, if they've never played before, they're probably not even going to know about trolls' ability to regenerate, right? So then it's up to you. Do I think it's cooler that they know that trolls can do that? Or is it just cooler if they think all trolls have acid blood? I mean, again, it's your game, you know? So I'm for it. As far as, the time spent considering that, I'm probably a terrible person to ask, because I'm very impulsive when it comes to things like this. I just do a quick thought, is this acid going to mess up? Is it going to really, unbalance this encounter? If I don't think it is, sounds cool. Let's do it. So it's your game at the end of the day. Now, but drawsteel is a little different in that it is a more strategic game. The rules are a little tighter, but I still think if you have the experience, you're the one that can answer that question the best.
Yeah, I think most important question that Emil asks here: should I let the mechanics of the original concept get a chance to shine first? Yeah, I think in general, yes. I want to see what the designers had in mind. If I've never put this on the table before, I don't want to assume that I just know better than the designers who spent years putting this together, play testing it with many, many, many different groups, getting lots of different feedback. I'm going to trust that the professionals know what they're doing until play at the table tells me otherwise. If I've got the time to tinker and play and have fun, if that's a source of fun for me to spend some creative time twisting these concepts into something new and different, well, then nothing should stop me from doing that.
It's like any homebrew.
Yeah, it's your game.
It's your game. And, you always have to weigh, balance versus fun, but it's your game. It's your world. I mean, you may not even be using the setting they suggest. Either way, there's not a wrong answer there, I don't think.
Emil, again, thanks for the email. If you want to get in touch with the show, maybe regarding this question, or you've got a different question you'd like to present us with, thievescantcast@gmail.com, or you can drop a question in the comments. We've got a new crowdfunding spotlight this week. Let's move on and take a look at horror cinema classics. Horror Cinema Classics from Wayward Studios. This is funding right now on BackerKit. It's an original tabletop RPG that runs on the Dungeon Crawl Classics rules, and it's set in a stylized 1980s horror movie world. Chris, do you have a favorite 80s horror movie series or standalone flick?
I'm a Jason fan.
Yeah? You like the Friday the 13th series?
I kind of root for him. I know that's probably not good, but I find myself pulling for him a little.
Right.
All those teenagers out in the cornfield, I'm like, come on, get them, man. Yeah.
The game is intended to be self-contained. You don't necessarily need to own Dungeon Crawl Classics, though familiarity, of course, helps. This is from the project page. In this cinematic adventure, players known as actors embody iconic archetypes of 80s movies, from monster hunter to warrior priest to desperate scientist. They confront the darkness, an ancient, malevolent force twisting reality and unleashing monstrous terrors upon our world with an ultimate purpose shrouded in mystery. The characters will battle with B-movie horrors with chainsaws, clawed hands, or mysterious powers, all while listening to synth pop or hair metal music on a boombox. What do you think of this pitch?
This sounds like a lot of fun. It's the Dungeon Crawl Classics game engine, right? So a lot of people will be familiar with that.
Sure.
And
perfect for your Halloween one-shot.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I don't want to necessarily play a campaign here, but a one-shot, two-shot, yeah, this would be great. Don't get too attached to your character. And
right.
Just lean into the 80s B horror movie goodness.
Yeah, this sounds like a lot of fun.
All right, so there are lots of different pledge levels, various add-ons, stretch goals, tons of those. There are too many to get into here. You can check out the link in the show notes, and that campaign runs through October 23rd. So time is running out if you want to get in on the horror.
I feel like playing this and dressing up,
You want to LARP it?
I want to spike my hair up and put on a headband, some montage music playing.
Well, that's what you do Monday through Friday, right? So,
yeah, but I'll style a little to the right. It'll be different.
Yeah. Moving on, our final segment today, digging up some real world hooks for your game. It is Unearthed Obscura. Today's Unearthed Obscura, Chris, we're taking a look at the glass brain of Mount Vesuvius.
I don't know what to think of that.
Are you familiar with this?
I'm not. I'm not
this
at all.
Real world lore?
No.
This is from theweek.com, by the way. So Mount Vesuvius erupts in 79 AD. It buries Pompeii and Herculaneum. Tons of volcanic ash is raining down. The layer of ash ends up preserving pretty much everything, though, from houses and frescoes, even the people who lived there. Back in 2020, archaeologists uncovered a young man lying in his bed whose brain had apparently turned into glass. Recently, a team came up with a possible explanation. How did this happen? To turn tissue into glass, it has to heat up super fast until it melts and then cool down just as quickly so that no crystals form. When they analyzed fragments of this guy's brain, Chris, they found that it had been heated to 950 degrees Fahrenheit and then cooled at the same pace, very rapidly. Here's the thing. The volcanic flows that buried the town weren't that hot, so they wouldn't have cooled the tissue fast enough anyway. So the researchers think it was the initial ash cloud, that first wave of super hot gas and ash that swept through Herculaneum, that did the trick. The heat would have boiled away the water in his brain, causing it to shatter into tiny pieces. Then, as the cloud moved on and temperatures dropped, those fragments basically froze into glass.
Wow.
Leaving a glass brain. I have to consider, how could we bring this idea of a glass brain into your game? I mean, the obvious jump here is this is some ancient artifact that somebody is trying to get their hands on, right? What sorts of powers might a glass brain have?
Okay. I think the first option would be the most interesting paperweight in the world. The first thing that I think of, and I don't know why, I see this thing at the heart of a supercomputer.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe this is the ultimate processor. I don't know what that would be, but
maybe there's secret knowledge, memories, right? Still locked away in that, preserved somehow. Yep. Maybe this brain belonged to some sage or powerful wizard or sorcerer long ago. Maybe, as a lich might do, intentionally, preserved some aspect of himself. Or maybe this was accidental or forced upon the individual.
What if it was the opposite, though?
Okay.
Like, what if this thing was an item of incredible power, but the brain belonged to an absolute simpleton with such incredible power that it's dangerous, right? Because it's acting purely out of emotion and raw desire, as a conduit, perhaps, of power or whatever it may be, begins to take control, right? And suddenly it's something that, in fact, cannot be controlled.
Right.
And so it's running wild. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, you don't know whose brain it was. Is there personality remaining in it? Is there, in their thoughts? Is there any of them left in the thing?
Right.
Probably, because that's more interesting, right?
It is. If the wielder somehow has a psychic connection to some aspect of this thing, that's far more interesting. Even if it's as simple as this is an arcane focus for a character that still has some sentient ability, right?
Right. So what if you had a villain, let's say Mind Flayers, if they were able to obtain it, allows them to not mind blast an individual, but amplify a mind blast across an entire city. Ooh. Like this becomes a weapon of war, a channel of their psionic abilities. Then it's
just makes everything you do bigger, more powerful.
Right. That's one interesting concept, or maybe the opposite. Maybe this thing nullifies psionic capabilities.
Ooh, now that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Shuts it off.
Like a huge radius, right?
Right.
And so suddenly there would be a lot of people who would undoubtedly be interested in that. Yeah,
I kind of like that thought. Being a shield against invasive psionic power.
Right. Then you could fortify a city. Mind flayers or whatever psionic enemy you're fighting would be completely disarmed.
Yes. Does this have application? We've taken this real world lore and dropped it into, fantasy settings, but what if we dropped it into a game like Call of Cthulhu or another system like that? Generally your games are set in the real world, sometimes even the modern world. You could give this thing the exact same backstory, right? It was unearthed around, Mount Vesuvius.
It feels very Call of Cthulhu, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Right?
For some reason, and this may sound crazy, but I'm thinking about what if if there was some scenario where a person needed to be in a place where a person couldn't be. But
you talking like astral projection?
Maybe, but this thing could, so it's like this thing can take the place of a brain in an impossible place. You know what I mean? Does that make sense at all? I don't know specifically what that would be.
Are you saying like if this thing is in one place, you can be somewhere else and then psychically connect to the brain in the other place, or you've got the brain with you and you are projecting your consciousness elsewhere?
I don't think I was saying either, but I like them both. Like that's
then I have totally misunderstood.
No, I don't even know. It's like if there was a location where no human could exist. But it was needed for functionality in that place. Like a conscience had to be there in order to accomplish a goal. And this was the thing that could do that. You could have a human conscience, an intellect in that place where no human should be. It's the key because it's impossible for a human mind to exist there, and yet here it is.
Okay, well, I'm fascinated by this. So can we talk that through and kind of maybe flesh out an example?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We can try.
So, like, where's a place, You want to go fantasy setting or sci-fi or real world?
It feels more sci-fi to me.
Okay, let's go sci-fi.
Like, okay, this is way out there. But let's say we've got like a scenario like an Event Horizon.
Yes.
Okay, there's a portal. All right, we know that anybody that goes there it's bad and it's going to end poorly. However, we can send in the probe with the brain.
The brain probe.
And maybe we have some way, we have systems there to monitor everything, and we can read out, we can gather the information we need, and the brain is driving. And we feel like we have a measure of control over the brain.
It's like a drone.
Right. Yes, except maybe we don't have as much control of it as we think we did.
Oh.
Right?
Yes.
And so like we know humans can't exist here, but the glass brain can. Right? That's the key to the whole thing.
Okay, so maybe that's the scenario setup, that this thing has been sent somewhere. Mm-hmm. We have lost control, but prior to losing control, like we discovered something that has to be addressed.
Well, sure.
Like we're going to have to go in.
Yeah, right.
Based on what we know now. I don't know what that might be.
Mm-hmm.
But and we also know that we have lost control and that this thing is posing maybe an imminent threat.
Right. Like,
what's it going to bring back with it?
We had problems.
Right.
Now we've got a whole other problem. Right. I don't know. It's just that's sort of my mindset. But I love the idea you talked about of just astral projection. In that sense, I can go where I shouldn't be able to go. So it's like the opposite.
What if, going back to the idea that this thing could contain ancient memories locked away?
Right.
What if you can astrally project yourself to the past?
Oh, yeah.
Into these memories.
So you could relive that life. Well, that's interesting.
Almost like projecting yourself into the brain where all of that is stored.
Okay. So this is like, in my mind, I immediately go to like 5 monkeys.
Or 12 monkeys?
Is it 12 monkeys?
Yeah, I think there's 7 more than what you thought.
I got the Temu version. I couldn't afford 12 monkeys. I only got 5. Right. So, yeah, but it's kind of like, okay, there's been this terrible plague and humanity's been devastated, right? But instead of going back in time, it's sort of like Assassin's Creed. What's the thing in Assassin's Creed?
I'm never going to remember what that's called.
Yeah, I don't know either. But, the thing they use to go back and live past lives,
right?
Like it's that.
Yeah.
And we can figure out how this started and maybe we can figure out a solution.
That's cool.
Man, see? Like just little stuff like this, sometimes it can get your brain going.
Exactly. Unearthed Obscura. I think before our brains turn to glass, we need to wrap up.
Somebody's going to turn that thing into a bong, just so you know.
I hope they do. Talk about a conversation piece.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll be lucky enough that thousands of years from now, someone is taking hits off of our brains.
Well, that's what our listeners are doing right now.
Hey, we will see you later in the week for Thieves Can't Capers, where we are going to wrap up our initial run-through of Drawsteel with the Drawsteel job. So don't miss that episode. We'll see you next week back here on Thieves Can't as well. Our final October show is coming up next weekend before we take a short hiatus. So we might have a spooky good time planned for you. You never know.
It's going to be great. We're going to spike up our hair, right. Put on our headbands. I don't know why that's the 80s to me, but it is for some reason.
Spy tearing headbands.
Yeah.
Welcome to the 80s. All right. We'll see you next time. It's been Thieves Can't. I'm Jeremy Shane.
And I'm Chris White.
So long.
Thank you for listening to Thieves Can't. Email thievescantcast@gmail.com.